Good morning from Northumberland, and with an advance apology for those who are not Star Wars fans, may the 4th be with you. I promise no more of that. We have two substantial chunks of scripture today. First from Acts chapter 11, and then a continuation of the Good Shepherd reading that we had yesterday. The Acts 11 reading is quite important because it points out a time of dissent in the early church. This is very early on in the life of the church, and Peter is criticized by Jewish Christians for his fellowship with and care for and relationship with those Christians who come from a Greek and a pagan origin. It is the first time we find this coming out in the church, and Peter tells the story of how God led him to be able to convert and to be happy to evangelize among those who are not who weren't come from a Jewish background. This is important because it's important particularly for all of us who are not from a Jewish background, people from all over the world who, as a result of this step into a new situation, had the possibility of becoming Christians opened up to us. And Jesus, in his speech in John 10, talks about being someone who is looking for sheep who are not from this fold. There will be other sheep from other folds, and I welcome them. This is brilliant because it shows us the way in which the gospel and the church is for all, but it also indicates the fact that Christians disagree. In Acts 11, two groups of Christians are disagreeing, and it could have got nasty, but the leadership of Peter and the others enable a step forward to be taken. And I'm sure not everyone was happy with it, but we know it's a good conclusion. And through the history of Christianity, there have been these disagreements. You know, many Christians thought it was right to own slaves, until some Christians campaigned to let them released. The whole idea of kindness and compassion comes from a Christian root, and it has to be expanded into the whole society. Many Christians, and indeed still some Christians, have problems with the role of women or gay people or all sorts of people. And it is a constant discussion within the church about the expansion of the fact that who God loves. And the bottom line for me and for most Christians is that God loves everyone. And Jesus came and lived and died for everyone, for all the sheep in all the folds, so that they may be brought together in one. It leads me on to another discussion that's happening in the church at the moment, and that's the discussion about how we use our churches in this time of lockdown. Practically everyone, 99.9% of people, agree that at the moment it would be not a good thing to have our church services with people attending them, because that's a danger of passing on the infection. And we're looking forward to the time when ways can happen that we can do it, but we accept, the vast majority of us, that we can't do it at the moment. The argument is about whether we should ring our church bell calling people to prayer or supporting the National Health Service. We've been asked not to do this. Whether I should go into the church and do there what I'm doing here, lead prayers and film them and share them with you, but from our church buildings. Now, I have to say, from my point of view, with three church buildings, it's much easier to do it here. I've only been up about 25 minutes, but here I am ready and able because it's all set up in my study and with my icon corner behind me. It would be physically much harder and more time-consuming to travel from North Sunderland to Beadnell to Ellingham on a rota around all the churches, continuing to broadcast, but it might say something to the people from those three communities when they could see their church being used for prayer, and the people in those communities could hear the bell being rung and know that people was praying for them. It's a disagreement, and I'm sure that there are arguments on both sides. Some people I've read saying we shouldn't be arguing about this, but I think we should. We should be arguing, we should be disagreeing, we should be fostering a discussion about what is the best way forward to serve our nation spiritually and in other ways at this time. I don't know what the perfect answer is, but I do know that we get a better answer when people are able to discuss this. Just as when we're discussing how this lockdown should end, the more people who can say something, some of them critical, will help us get a better solution. As Christians, we must be prepared to disagree, but do it with love, and to remember that sometimes finding the best way forward takes more than one opinion. May God bless us, give us loving disagreements, and above all, remind us that the Good Shepherd wants to lead us into abundant life. May God bless us all.